So we're gonna do an open panel. Try and get my shit together real quick. Testing. All right, so I see that shit ain't gonna work. I'm gonna pull out. I don't know what's going on with my main headset. So y'all going to have to deal with this other thing. So anyway, I don't need my headset yet. But what's up, Fast Attack? So yeah, this is gonna be an open panel. I want to get shout out to Nameless. Nameless definitely said something that I should have. I had basically a Freudian slip. And we'll talk about it. We'll see if he comes through. But anyway, I see people have been commenting on it. People have been talking about it. So I want to talk about it. There's a couple of key things I want to talk about when it comes to the quote unquote Jeanie my situation. Number one is the sexual politics, which you all have already talked. We've already discussed, but we're going to discuss it with an open panel. Number two, it's the idea that Nameless said that really what Jeanie Mai is talking about is not so much. It's not so much submission. It's not submission. It's more like egalitarianism. It's basically cooperation. Yeah, what's up, Prince Diamond? It's more cooperation is what she's describing. And that's going to be a pathway for a lot of these, like, quote unquote, strong female types. Another thing, too, is we're going to talk about this from a greater American standpoint as well as from a black standpoint. Because when you take this, what she said, what Tommy Lauren has said, what you always see black people say, you know, the fact that like Lonnie Love is with a white man, you know, these overall conversations and how people try to make this pro-black. I'm even going to throw a little O'Shea in there because O'Shea has done a video with Travis Scott talking about, you know, you can't say your kid is black, even though, I mean, everybody knows they're mixed, but, you know, the rules of the United States is, number one, they're the one drop rule. Number two, black women have already decided that they're not going to be absolute on that rule as far as because Cardi B's not black, but yet black women were the main ones to boost her. So black women don't even follow those rules as far as I've even heard it when Chrissy and them have told them. Black women do not believe in standing on their own. They just don't. And until they actually want that, black men are not going to be able to lead them to that. Because it's just like telling black women to take weave out the head. They're never going to do it unless they want to. Yeah, it is about himself, Brad. Want to. So this thing about telling, here's the thing. You know, first of all, Travis Scott is not being pro-black. What Travis Scott is doing, number one, he's a black man, first and foremost. So regardless of who he marries, regardless of who he has kids with, you know, he is a black man. It's easy. It's an easier push if you're talking about a Jesse Williams or some shit. I can understand how people can try to make that claim. But when you talk about somebody like Travis Scott, which is very phenotypically in every way a black man that is definitely deals with this bullshit in black America, not just black America, I'm talking about in America, black men are at the bottom. So the truth is, he has a right to say whatever the fuck he wants to say. Now, do you have to agree with it? No, you don't. But the reality of the situation is everybody always likes to pretend like there's this. And the one thing that O'Shea said, and I'm gonna get to the Jeanie Mai thing in a second. But the one thing O'Shea said was he said this thing about you don't get amenities from the community. There are no fucking amenities from the community. What the fuck are you talking? Not for black men. There are no benefits. What the fuck you talking? What the fuck are you talking about? Where are these amenities? And maybe one of y'all can come up here. That maybe y'all smarter than me and y'all can tell me what they are. But the reality is, when you actually look at what black people need cooperation, they need resources, they need collaboration. You know, they don't necessarily, individually, black people don't necessarily need for you to be fucking them and having kids with them. So this idea now, so we're going to jump on Travis Scott. We jump on Travis Scott about the other stuff he hasn't done. Because as far as I'm concerned, you know, nobody had nothing to say. Shit, you know, you look at somebody phenotypically like who Nipsey Hussle was with, and there's a very little distinction difference. So it playing the who somebody's with and who somebody again having kids with, that's a sexual politicking thing. That's what that is, because that only appeals to other females. Because men actually understand that what actually it takes to actually build a functional community and competitive community is about more than just who the fuck you sleep with. So we make this argument as if, you know, at the end of the day, the people that fuck with Travis Scott's music, black folks, are going to fuck with it regardless who he's with. In fact, I would make the argument that a lot of black women have more respect for Travis Scott as far as his value because Kylie chose him. And that's part of where that jealousy comes from too. We're gonna talk about that shit because when you look at the Megan Thee Stallion situation, there's gonna be a couple of things right now. The Megan Thee Stallion situation, as far as a lot of that Tory Lanez, and that led to jealousy and stuff. I mean, I just feel like there's double dipping here. I feel like people will make these stances and at the end of the day, the shame is not gonna work. Like there are too many people. Even though most people deal with black people, there are too many people to interact with black people, interact with non-black people. Because I could almost say, if you work for the white man too, then you must be compromised. There's just too many ways that black people interact with black people to start trying to like draw these like absolute lines. And then, like I said, everybody has their opinion, but part of that is why people, when they take on the pro-black man moniker by the greater black people, they're not taken seriously. They're not taken seriously because it just becomes this thing where it becomes like, okay, you picked up the Bible and now you're going to start preaching it, but it's not something you actually believe necessarily actually understand. That's how people look at it. And that's not always true. But at the end of the day, shame is you're never going to stop black men from doing what they would do to shame. And the truth is, black men don't need to necessarily work with the black community. Black men need to work with other black men, and other black men outside of a certain faction are not going to throw other black men away that they can benefit from just by who they fucking. That's just not going to happen. So even bringing it up and constantly harping on that only serves the purpose of really gassing chicks up. So anyway, let me put the link down here, and we're going to talk about it. I want to give y'all an opportunity to comment on it. Put this in here because the thing that I'm seeing is again, when you see things through the lens of sexual politicking, we're gonna start with the Jeanie with the situation. It's not even a situation. Everybody talk about it's a controversy. It's not a controversy. I mean, words matter, and I hate this shallow bullshit where people on a lot of these fucking blogs and shit will use like certain hype words to make it seem like what she said was a big deal. She basically said that I need to learn how to turn that tiger mom shit or tiger bitch shit off for the sake of my relationship because I don't fucking want to be alone. That's it. That's all she really said, and she explained it. And the women, and what I love about that is that shit is a beacon. That is a beacon for number one, why a lot of black women that are not necessarily on that shit don't say nothing. And number two, the ones they don't even like, she was talking about cooperation. And the reality of the situation is what you see is females are not interested in that. Not really. They not really at their core. At their core, they want a supremacy situation. And what's funny about that shit is they'll be the main ones bitching about why a situation didn't work, saying, well, that man didn't lead, that man didn't do this. I want a man that leads. No, the fuck you all don't. I don't know why women are just not honest in saying, I don't want a man that leads. I want a dude that I'm sexually attracted to, that basically I want a fucking concubine ass nigga. That's what I want. Because when you see like who Nicki Minaj is with, some of the motherfuckers Keisha Cole has been with, you see this, and this is what the fuck a lot of these women like. And it's like, just own what you like. Just like if you're dealing with a dude that likes to fuck thoughts, own the good and the bad that comes with that. Own it. Even flipping it back to Travis Scott. Travis Scott basically is talking about his daughter and talking about his kid and talking about the idea. And let's be clear here. If Travis Scott's daughter started dating black people, you all would have no saying, you all would have no bearings to say that she's not black. Like, for instance, take Zendaya, for example. Zendaya does, some like, and obviously these are celebrities, so you have to take what they say with a grain of salt anyway. But Zendaya does a lot of does some, pro-black, I don't want to say propaganda, but she'll put this stuff out there. Nobody's gonna be out here and say, oh, you're not allowed to say you're black. Oh, you know what? Fuck all of that shit. You want to know what completely fucking removed anybody's opinion about that shit is Meghan Markle's mother is not even, Meghan Markle's mother is mixed. So basically Meghan Markle's grandmother, then mother, these are women, both chose white dudes to create Meghan Markle, right? Yet, yet, yeah, it is an incompetent select men. Yet, Meghan Markle and make so basically you got think about it. You got 3 generations of women that all chose white men. And by the way, Meghan Markle's mother does not get along with her father. So I guess that dude ended up being kind of like a bottom shelf Brad. And then for Meghan Markle to be who she is, yet black women basically they swooned. Like it was almost an Obama, a micro nuke Obama level of social media traction that they got from the fact that she was with a white man and she doesn't even look black. She looks more Italian Sicilian than anything. So the idea, exactly. But and don't even get me started on people like Doja Cat and all that. But the idea, just off the idea, Cardi B, I would say the same thing. I've said Cardi B is not black, yet she gets the credibility of one. And even Chrissy and them have understood these black women will not just stick with a Kelly Rowland. They will not just stick with a man. They won't do it. So this idea that we're going to start holding black men accountable to what black men accountable what black women don't even want to do for themselves is another thing. And it's the same thing. I remember when Tyrese called his wife a black queen. Now his wife is mixed. And then people got upset. But then literally the next, this was right around the same time is the Meghan Markle situation, was like right before that. And I put a picture of I put 3 pictures up. I put a picture of, and in fact, I might do it again. I put a picture of Tyrese's wife, Kamala Harris, and Meghan Markle. And I said, one of these women are celebrated for being with a white man. One of these women, black men are told that even though, to be fair, Kamala Harris, a lot of black women don't like her. So she's actually 50-50. But a lot of these same fucking blue check liberal females will be the ones that tell you to deal with Kamala Harris for voting, even though there's nothing on her record that black men should vote for. But at the same time, I don't care. I mean, if people show up, they show up. If they don't, they don't. But at the same time, now, people got mad at Tyrese. The only common denominator is 2 of those mixed women were with white men. So mixed women that are with white men actually get more respect from black women than mixed women that are actually with black men. And then you see a woman. So none of this makes sense except through the lens of understanding sexual politics. So when you look at Jeanie Mai, where a lot of black women are trying to low key intimidate her on some real masculine shit. And keep in mind, outside of Lonnie Love, most of these bitches, like the Tamara sisters, are mixed. What's that dumb bitch's name that nobody likes? That she was on Insecure and she got kicked out of her party. You know what I'm talking about? That chick is mixed. These are mixed bitches. These are mixed bitches outside of Lonnie Love, either a mixed bitch and a bitch that she shouldn't even, her opinion, black women shouldn't even take her opinion seriously because she shouldn't even be the representative of what black women want to put out there, right? So you shouldn't even count her. And these are people that have their opinions, and it's just so obvious. It's obvious. And at the end of the day, man, women don't believe that bullshit. The more that the penalties for these women dating out and this idea that it's only compromised females or old females or females. Here's the thing. Even if people want to make the argument that black men only see you as big dicks and swag, guess the fuck what? Black men don't have to have children and happily ever after relationships with non-black women. That's not what black men yearn for. We just give a fuck about sexual access. And I know you only need one person to settle down with. This idea, you don't need a whole bunch. So all you need is to get one. And I'm not even talking about non-black women. There's one for black women. You only need one. And people love talking about Kylie Jenner, but understand Kylie Jenner has what she has. Black people boosted her. I'm not saying it's only for black people, but it goes with saying where people always go to black folks to get boosted. Yeah, and Amanda Seals. So these are like a lot of these women are mixed women, or your Janae's, Janaea Moore types. The chicks, they barely look black, but they want a cape for black women, and it becomes this like political bullshit. It just does. And when you see it like clearly, and you got to remember, I'm an older millennial. I'm 33. The oldest millennials are like 37, 38. I'm in more the older side, even the older half. And a lot of these millennials, they see that shit like straight like that. They see just motherfuckers being butthurt, being this, being that. And people see this shit. And it's like, can we really have an honest conversation? I mean, for real, can we please have an honest conversation? Or are we just going to keep on playing the pro black? Are we going to keep on playing the pro black card? Or are we going to really have an honest conversation? Because honestly, a lot of that shit almost is low-key disrespectful to even be pro black. Because it's like, look, people are going to do what they do. The objective of the black community should be to give people every reason to stick with their own. Not play this game, not use the shame card. And the reason why I'm using shame is because that's the thing you see across the board. Whenever people don't have the power to make something happen, the go-to with black people is always shame, shame, shame. So with Jeannie Mai, people are trying to, and this is what happens to black women, is they get shamed into, oh, you're weak, you're this. Black men, you're weak for not winning a strong woman. And I'm like, yo, that is the goofiest shit in the world. And these will be some of the same ones talking about, I had to leave because nobody else would. As if you're really going to delude someone that you want anything but. That's a situation that you just fell into. This is why when you hear women say that, like, I had to leave because nobody else went. No. You wanted that. You chose that situation. And this is a big reason why I'm very quick to tell black women, y'all need to date out. If y'all really don't want to lead, or y'all want to be led and black men can't do it, then you date out. It's not hard. Because a lot of black men are dating now, they're telling you what they don't want. Y'all saying you're going to still do it. And black men are finding another store. And then we get mad as if there's this betrayal. No, you all did it first by doing what the fuck you want to do. You broke the social contract, and therefore people are reserved the right to be a free agent. What do they do with a sports team? If you break a certain contract, they're going to release you. Or if you do, that also can work both ways. And it's not so much about people advocating for any, like, here's the thing, like with the Travis, with people posting, look, black men, let me be very fucking clear here. Black men are not supposed to be, fuck anybody that wants to play like black men are supposed to be ashamed of the children that they have, regardless what race it is. You have fucking gay dudes running around here, dudes like Dwayne fucking Wade, motherfuckers that are running around here doing God knows what, and being free and living in their truth. But we have the fucking nerve to basically say, oh, well, if you have a kid with a non-black woman and you want to say, that she's black, you don't have to say that. Now, people have an opinion to say that, but at the end of the day, Travis Scott don't need shit from black people he already not getting. Black people that fuck with him is going to fuck with him. And this is true for anybody. This is true for any black person. The reality is, people say, well, you can't speak on black issues, you lose the right. Yeah, you have a right to have that opinion. But at the end of the day, that doesn't discredit shit if shit is credible. Saying that black women have a problem, a deep-seated problem with how they view black men does not change whether you're fucking a black woman or a white woman. It doesn't change. That is either true or not true. And saying, well, it's not true, or you can't say that. It's like saying, well, you can't say 1 + 1 is 2 because you're not a mathematician. So, or 1 + because it's really 3. Okay, that doesn't mean shit is gonna be off. And we have to start looking at things from a rational standpoint. This is why you notice how when you look at, how as much people talk. I've been paying attention to a lot of this over the years, and a lot of this is not directed at one person. This is just what I've observed in being really knee deep in this stuff in 5 years in the manosphere and hearing these conversations. Do you realize that as much as people like to talk about being pro-black, As many of y'all have been in Mansfield for a couple of years, or like 3 or 4 or 5 years, or going all the way back to SWP, you have never heard anybody really talk about. Tell me that other than Charles Tyler, and Charles Tyler didn't call it this. I'm one of the first ones that called it intercultural dating. You have never heard anybody say that. You have never heard people that say, okay, well, we don't really agree with black men dating out. They've never offered a credible alternative. They just say you should just they really just say take black women there. And to be fair, O'Shea does call black women out on their shit. And Jason Black does too. And they call them out on their shit a lot. So I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm talking about overall with the pro-black shit. You never hear that. You never hear, well, maybe you should interculturally date. Well, maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do that. You never hear here's the alternative. So if you okay, so the main thing that's important is the genetic value. So, okay, this is what we need to do to preserve that. So at least we're not seen as just telling them my way or the highway. We're at least offering a choice, which gives us a better credible to push it. Because it's not like we're telling them not to do this. I've even heard, like, shout out to Black Mind, where he says, well, just don't deal with the white woman. That's his own personal preference. You know, I've heard certain dudes talk about single motherhood where they'll play the one kid rule, or if you got one kid, you made a mistake. So at least they're not just outright telling people to just deal with bullshit situations. But you don't really see that presented. As much as motherfuckers will talk about Pan-Africanism, you never see that presented. It's never presented where here's the pipelines to Afro-Latinas. Here's the pipelines to this. And I'm not talking about like mixed looking Afro-Latina. I'm talking about dark skinned Afro-Latina. Shout out to El Grande with posting those videos. I need to start sharing on Instagram and sharing more. Like he's actually showing it, which that's not really his intention, but that's what he's showing. You don't ever see that. And shout out to Charles Tyler, God rest his soul, where he really tried to push that. He tried to push an alternative. And not just to say, it's not about saying, fuck this, choose that. It's about saying, look, if you want to be what you want to be, strong, independent, fuck black men, cool. The ADOS black women are not like that will have better outcomes, and that's cool. And then the ones that want to be on that bullshit, well, we have an alternative for you. And that's what real power is. Real power is not negotiate. You don't have power if you're negotiating with someone. You know, we all grew up in a situation, whether you had a mother and father or just a mother, my house, my rules. So you are only negotiating. So when you are living with someone else under somebody else's roof, they may negotiate with you, but they're only negotiating with you because they're tolerating that. Ultimately, they could just shut that down, and you know it. So the negotiating position you have is predicated on that. When black men say, I'm only going to deal with black women and I'm going to be everything that I can for black women, what you're essentially doing is you're basically setting it up from a position where you're almost negotiating against yourself. When in actuality, if black men date out, even if you don't agree with that, you should say, I may not agree with it because I'm having black kids that look like me for my own purposes. But at the end of the day, at some point, you're going to have to do something to solve that problem. At some point, because you can't shame dudes into saying no to pussy. I don't know what black man believes that they can shame other black men from saying no to pussy. And here's the thing. Let's say these dudes are incels. Let's say these dudes are incels. Well, if these dudes are incels, they're bummy, they're broke, they're dusty, they're everything in the book. Well, why do black women care? If all the dudes that talk about dating now are incels and weak, then why is it even a discussion? Why is the colorism argument so strong? Is the colorism argument really based on like 10% of black men? Why is that argument so strong? You got black women that are willing to deal with men in prison. And by the way, a lot of them dudes are in prison because of the laws that a lot of women co-sign. And you know what the biggest appealing thing to a black man in prison is? You get all of the sexual marketplace. Because, you know, we're not even going to talk about the sex and the gay sex and jail shit. Black women and this is so for all that bisexual bullshit that black women like to talk, guess what? Those dudes, that's a highly likelihood, but you never see that come up. But my point is, they love the compromised nature of that dude. That is a concubine slave. That felony is on him. He needs you. Black women, even in the feminist American, black women have this unique thing where they like to be needed, like really like to be needed, because they like a dude that they feel like they can control. And you see that in other women as well, and they get the results. Donovan Sharp said one time, as he said, there's two different ideologies in America. There's the black ideology and there's the white ideology, which is the mainstream. I remember this. It was a very good video. And he talked about how you had mainstream culture versus urban culture. Urban culture is representative is black culture. Mainstream culture represents white culture. So what happens is all these races, whether they're African, whatever, they pick a side. They pick a side. Now, some of them play both sides, depending on if you have the quote unquote privilege to do so. But Hispanics, all of them, they pick a side. They pick kind of a track. And if you pick the urban side, the Cash Me Out side girl or Cardi B side, you are most likely black men are going to be what you deal with. Now you can deal with other dudes too, depending on who you are, but most likely black men are who you're going to deal with, because you have the black acting white girls, the black acting Hispanics, the more white acting Hispanics. We know the difference. Like your Ariel, we know the difference. And not to say the ones that white acting are not going to deal with black dudes, but we know the difference. Hell, you know the difference. Glenn Cameron did a video called The New Black Girl, which is more representative of a black woman that more operates like a white chick. Not necessarily sounds like a white chick, but she operates more on that track. And you can even see it in the body type. I have seen enough women on Instagram to where you can tell the women as to if they're dating black men. I'm talking about white women. If they're dating black women, white women and Hispanic, if they're dating black women, even Asian, they're dating black men versus if they're actually going to date white men. You can tell, because they actually will transform their body type to fit, meaning it'll be kind of subtle, but it'll be noticeable. I've actually seen a couple of women where they're like, not so much they're fat, but they have accentuated, like a lot of shit is accentuated, and not by surgery. Like they'll let themselves gain more weight and they'll try to control it, but they'll gain more weight to where their thighs are bigger, because their breasts are bigger, ass are bigger. The ones that have the body type that can do this versus them, they will actually lose a lot of that weight, and they'll still maintain some of the assets they have, but it'll be slightly different, but the difference is noticeable. I've seen it in different races. So you can tell what type of men they're aiming for, what type of men is their quote unquote type. And this is why I understand when black men talk about they want bigger women, ass and titties. I just not going to take the big stomach with that shit. And see, and that's interesting, even the fact, because you can still want a chick that's got ass and titties, but that chick still is slim. Versus a chick that actually has more body fat on her, because a lot of dudes like it. This is why when I heard Danielle say that, even though it annoyed me, it was kind of true. No, it's not. I'm talking about even without waist trainers, with videos. I'm not talking about waist trainers. I'm talking about you see their stomach, so you would see that. He said 30% of Kenyan dads are not the father. Maya Moore, guys. Maya Moore is a little bit different situation. That's kind of an exception to the rule. That's it, because that dude, number one, shouldn't have been in prison in the first place. That's kind of an exception. Well, yeah, Doja Cat does get heat because she's a self-hater, and she should get heat because Doja Cat is a culture vulture. But see, Doja Cat can only be a culture. See, that's black women that co-sign that shit. But see, that never gets talked about. So, but a lot of women are wearing waist trainers, but the ones I'm talking about are not doing that. I know you can tell the women, you can tell. But it's just, it's just at some point, it's shout out to Nama Butner, and we all know it. Like, we all know you're not doing black women a service by just saying, well, black men need to do this and they can't be pro-black. Because then really what we're defining the black community from the basis of what black women want and who black women are. So basically, it's just like defining the black community from the center. Okay, you remember how the humanity used to believe that the world was the center of the universe. Then we realized we thought we were the center of the solar system. Then we realized the sun was the center of the solar system. Then you realize the galaxy is the center. If you actually understand astronomy a little bit, I'm not no expert on shit when it comes to that, but I've learned that the Earth is more in the suburbs in the outer suburbs, because we're in one of the arms of the Milky Way galaxy. We're not even in the center of the galaxy or even anywhere close to it. We're really on the outer side. This is why we can see different galaxies, because we can't really see fully what's in the Milky Way. Typically, a huge black hole is what all the stars rotate around. And the point is, we will look at the black community. The hood is the center of the black community, which is not true and should not be true. That's like a rise of a lot of urban centers. Then we start to look at, the black women are the center of the black community. You hear that shit. Like, if you look at most of your melanin hashtags or pro-black hashtags, whether it's pro-black economic, it's always some nigga simping, saying some stupid shit. What's up, General? What's up, Genuine Trucker? Some stupid shit. Some gas, like on some, yeah, man, I find the area of my black woman, and so what she likes the least, and that's the area I kiss the most. And these things, these niggas be trying to do what I call simp flexing. And the point is, black men are supposed to be the center of the black community. And not because I just feel that way, but because if you want a competitive community, that's what the fuck it is. Say what you want to about Asian women dating out, the man is still the center of it. Because say what you want to about Jewish women, because Jewish women are just as mouthy as black women. But Jewish women understand that a lot of their stuff is predicated on how solid their men are. They understand that. Our women don't. Now, we know why. We know the history, but the history doesn't matter. Like, shout out to DC from the Code Breakers. People talk about the history, but the history doesn't matter to the outcome. It doesn't matter. And I'll prove it. If I said that I like to beat, let's say somebody said that they like to beat women. They like to smack women around. It wouldn't matter, that that's how they were raised. It wouldn't matter that the history behind it. None of that would matter. You would only focus on that's what you're doing. Therefore, that's who you are. And oftentimes with black people, what we like to do is we like to think by explaining shit away, that makes it right. It's like, no. Just because you explain it, that okay, I understand why it is the way it is. That doesn't take away the outcome. It's like you getting a job interview and then you don't got the job, and then you think you can explain why you don't have the what's needed for the job, and that all of a sudden says, oh, well, I understand now. Here's the job. No, you're still not getting the job. Or if you get cut from a team or something, I got cut from the basketball team twice before I finally made the team. I got cut from the basketball team all through middle school, and I finally made it in high school. You think the shit that I needed that I did not have, not to mention I was short, which I needed to make up for that by being good at everything else. You think me explaining that mattered? It didn't mean shit. And I think as black people, rather than dealing with something as it is, what we like to do is we like to think that anybody gives a fuck about our explanations. The point of you understanding it is for you to know how to navigate it. And fuck Travis Scott. I don't give a fuck about Travis Scott like that. I don't like these new rappers like that. But my point is, my point is, if he's number one, if his daughters have black, keep in mind, these are dark-skinned black men, by the way, that are saying that their kids are mixed. It's not like we're dealing with somebody that's like, just like this light like me or some shit. And then, oh, they got a damn me Meghan Markle looking chick. These are kids, these are motherfuckers that as they get older, they'll probably get darker. And my thing is, if we're gonna say that, then let's kick Zendaya out. Let's kick all the black people out. Let's kick all the mixed people out. Hell, let's kick all the light-skinned people out. I know Xanato's saying Negroes want to do it anyway. Kick them out right now. But see, on some SWP shit, you got people that'll say, "No, keep the mixed women in, and we'll kick all the mixed dudes out." Because at the end of the day, people are not prepared to really do that. And ultimately, if people are serious, that's what you're going to really need to be able to do. Hell, you see it in Africa right now, where them Chinese dudes are cleaning up in certain different areas. You see the articles. These Chinese people are basically fucking these women, having kids with these women, and leaving these women. And they give no fucks about it. So, again, I try to be more measured, like I said. But at the end of the day, as BGS will say, proximity is the biggest indicator of who you're going to deal with. It's the same thing with Bronny James. There's all this kind of like, black. The thing is, anybody that wants black men to be with black women, you gotta enhance the product. one of my favorite shows, and I need to get back into it. It's called The Prophet. And basically The Prophet, so basically The Prophet is basically after you basically buy a company. So what do you do with it to change it? So he does this thing where he does the changes he kind of wants to do for a week. And basically it's a trial run to see if it's going to be a good fit, because the current owners of the company, he'll have 51%, meaning he runs it, but they really run it. But if he wants to veto him, he can veto him. And that's the price of his money. And he does a trial run of doing the change he wants to do for a week, kind of walking him through it. It's actually a great show. And some of the companies he's taking over, this is CEO of Camping World, Marcus Lemonis, very good dude. And he has and one thing he says is how he looks at a business. He looks at business through the lens of three basic things: it's people, process, and product. Usually people in his are not the problem. If you pick the product and the process, and usually if people are the problem, it's the managers. Generally how he deals with. And I'm gonna address that. I'm gonna address that, Private Foster. Appreciate it. And people and so the way you look at it, people, process, product. So process is obviously like, making the business more efficient and stuff like that. Think of Amazon and their quote unquote process. And there's a lot of processes. A lot of processes you don't see. Then you got people, which is obviously people in the factories. And then you got the product, which is Amazon's market is really the product. And so when we look at, this problem of black men dating out, even though as of right now, black men marry black women like 85%, even though what you're seeing is an emerging problem with the Zillennials. And the truth is, Zillennials don't give a flying fuck. Zillennials will look at Travis Scott and say what Travis Scott is doing is perfectly fine. I would love to do a panel with nothing but dudes that are like 23 and under, 24 and under, and see what they think about things like what Travis Scott is doing. Because they'll say, yeah, he's black, they're black. That's a black child. Yeah, they'll say, yeah, he's mixed, but they're black too. Because a lot of these Zillennials, you got to remember, hip hop is for the younger folks up to like folks that are like 31, 32. That's where the music is aimed for. It's aimed at the younger group. It's aimed at the younger group. So in the eyes of the younger group, this is par of the course. This is what they think and what they're doing. And it's interesting because people will sit there and say that the manosphere is manipulated. This is one of the beautiful things about the manosphere. Like I said, you can have two opposing opinions. We're not a monolith, but it's not the manosphere promoting this. These kids, these dudes are seeing this on the ground, and they're seeing this in mainstream media. And now it's starting to burst more and I'm gonna tell you, one of the big it's interesting because the Kardashians have probably moved pop culture single-handedly in more directions than a lot of people have, because probably nobody has made fucking a black man more mainstream and popular than the Kardashians. And Kim was one thing, obviously, but when you saw Kylie do it, then that became like a business model. And you see how Kylie has surpassed Kim, even though obviously she stepped on top of Kim's shoulders. And then she got Travis Scott. And then the fact that he's doing his own thing was like that. Like a lot of these Jeanie Mai type females and women that operate like that, if they get over the family issue, which is getting easier to deal with, if they get over, because now you're starting to see how these mixed dudes like Mahomes and stuff, Dak Prescott, they're starting to be more accepted because they're starting to be added into the quote unquote buffer class in a way from the mainstream zeitgeist. And then as BGS would tell you, that's already part of the plan for the, powers that be anyway, as far as absorption. My point is, I'm trying to illustrate this is a real problem, and shaming is not going to work, because what's happening is that's being muted more and more and more as stuff goes through. And even though that's a habit, nobody cares about that. If a black man that decides to do tangible things, or let's say pro-black acts, for example, I'm taking big wigs, but the average black man that decides to, let's say, mentor a black boy, what is he getting for that? He's not getting shit. He doesn't. Black men are getting nothing in return. When we do anything for the quote unquote community, we are getting nothing in return. Zero in return. Outside of a couple of black men to service the black community as far as the gynocracy and stuff like that, entertainment wise, we get zero from return. So when people will sit here and play the role of we have bought up stock in the community, but we have no right to say what is. Like, and people don't have to listen, but we don't have a right to an opinion. Hell, black conservatives have a right to an opinion. And so my thing is, even other black men who a lot of black men are really talking to, it doesn't matter. First of all, when Travis Scott made that post, Travis Scott made that post for two reasons. Number one, that wasn't for black people. That was for the mainstream, white liberals, all of that. And secondly, yeah, that was for the mainstream. So any individual black person's opinion was mute on that, because that's not even who he was trying to really aim at. And so when you look at the quote unquote pro-black audience, and that's the interesting thing. Like, if you look at Donovan Sharp, and if Donovan Sharp is doing what I think he's going to do as far as develop another black audience, like in greater YouTube, it's not the same. Like, he's talking to a different audience. And so it doesn't matter. So obviously we can play the gynocracy audience or the gynocracy game, in which that's all only proven to reinforce where black people already are, or we can actually do something else. And at the end of the day, all of the stuff that I outlined before, these are the things that folks are up against. And what I'm seeing is a lot of ignoring that and just doing the same thing. Now, coming back to Jeanie Mai's situation, the reality is a lot of these black men that self-improve and get their shit together. I don't understand why black men believe that these niggas are just going to improve their way to a black woman respecting them. If a black woman has deep-seated issues against black men, it doesn't fucking matter who that black man is. Even if it's a black man that they're sexually attracted to, eventually that shit will wane, because there's always some new dick. And you see it when they have kids with these people, how that shit turns up. You see it. You see it. You see it. And so this idea that it's just a matter of, and look, every man should self-improve, but this issue of what black men just self-improve, black women would change. Oh, that's bullshit. And anybody that even alludes to that shit, they're running game. And this is why you often hear me jump against self-improvement. It's not so much I'm against self-improvement. I'm against people acting like, well, if you self-improve yourself, you're going to get respected by those women. Now, it's the difference between how the mainstream might see you is different. Now, as far as I don't know. The bleaching their skin, that's a whole nother thing. Zero returns. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that the beautiful thing about the Prophet is the Prophet, if you don't know a lot about business, the Prophet will get you gamed up in a very entertaining way. From a person that's very, very serious.
So what you say was going?
And that's the problem, man. And I know, and like, and some people mean to do it. Some people don't really mean to do it. They just want to put it out there. But at the end of the day, man, you got to fix the product. I'm sorry. And say what you want to about black men. Like this, like, y'all can say whatever people can say whatever they want to say about black men. At the end of the day, black men are coupling up. Most black men, when they take the race thing out of the equation, they're not having issues like that. And at the end of the day, you have to fix the product. And you've already, and we've gotten Karasin on the record saying that Karasin, if I has a hard time getting chicks to lose weight, even for white men. We have obviously Kevin Samuels' work. Hell, even you regardless how you feel about Jason Black's information is very valuable, especially a lot of the business, because when he has them women call in, they basically tell the truth. And basically they say the same shit. The same shit that they say to Jason, they say to Kevin. So it's not like, you're hearing this different thing because the conversation, they're saying the consistent things. They're telling you what it is. And so, and my thing is, you're not just dealing with black men running to other places. These women are coming for these dudes. And it's just not going to work anymore, man. And it just is what it is. Nah, I disagree with that. I disagree with Kanye. Kim did more for the community than Jay-Z, and B. It's comparable, but I disagree with that. But my thing, because I'm gonna keep it real with you, I don't really give a fuck about dating out like that personally. Like personally, it's not something like I've done it and I'll do it, but it's not one of those things where I sit there and like, oh, this is what needs to happen. But at the end of the day, I'm commenting on it from a macro perspective. And I know what the situation is across the board. That is true. She did low-key disrespect Malcolm X. Nicki Minaj is disrespecting. And to be fair, Jason has called that out. Professor Razoo has called out Nicki Minaj disrespecting Malcolm X and shit like that. So most of what you see in the mainstream gossip blogs are really sexual politicking. That's all that is. So it's good to comment on it, but that's all that shit is. And that shit needs to be looked at, maybe a lick to get some money, take some of the red pill shit to the gossip blogs. Cause I think there's some shit that cause they just keep saying the same bullshit. Oh, most of what a lot of that shit is black women got triggered, people respond. That's it. So anyway, I'm actually glad nobody popped up because I really didn't want this to go on long. I just wanted to add some additional commentary. Appreciate Fast Attack. Appreciate the super chat, Naima. I got some links at the bottom of some of the videos I was looking at for it. People don't understand Malcolm X is a product of a mixed woman. But see, we can't say that. So a lot of these attitudes, at the end of the day, man, it's easy in a catchphrase. Only, in a catchphrase saying you can't, but at the end of the day, man, people gonna say what the fuck they want to say regardless. And guess what? There's certain black people, every black person doesn't have that issue. That's the issue too. And pro-black has been declawed in many ways. When you look at things like Black Lives Matter, you look at shit like there's just so many different ways that being pro-black has kind of lost its credibility. People don't give a fuck about that. And that just goes to show you like where shit. Well, Robert Smith, yeah, but Robert Smith was married to a mixed woman first. And people forget that shit. So Robert Smith shouldn't even count. Because he already has he has kids that are blacker than him or as black as him. So it really, but it's good cannon fodder. And it brings in the views. Like I said, I'm definitely going to probably start getting into a little bit more as far as doing uploads. Y'all won't have to listen to me talk for like an hour about the shit, but doing quick, like 10-minute videos about it. I think there's value in that to try to grow this channel and try to take it in a different direction. It's not going to be a straight entertainment direction, but that'll be something that kind of feeds the channel. Well, Frederick Douglass got with a white wife last. He had black wives he was married to before, so he doesn't count. I think a lot of people like the lump. And as far as Harry Belafonte, Harry Belafonte was in entertainment, and Harry Belafonte has receipts. He's put money behind black people. So he's kind of paid his way out of that. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. With that being said, this is Edward signing off. Peace.